Look through your children's eyes, and you will discover the true magic of a forest.
Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
I'm Colleen Wolfe from Thursday Night Football and Good Morning Football Weekend.
And I'm Ricky Hollywood from Around the NFL and The Broadcast.
On our new podcast, Split Ends, Ricky and I will be coming to you every week to talk about all the important and unimportant storylines in the football world.
Join us for the stories on and off the field that matter. And some don't, but we think they're interesting, so we're going to talk about them anyway. We'll break down games, news stories, tweets, interviews, whatever it takes to cover the ins and outs of the NFL world.
We're here to talk you through it.
Just a couple of best friends talking ball.
Listen to Split Ends on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, I'm Minnie Driver. And on my podcast, Mini Questions, I ask trailblazers across different disciplines the same 7 questions. Questions about the inflection points in their life, what they like least about themselves, and what relationship has defined love for them. This season, I'm coming back with new trailblazers, like Blondie vocalist Debbie Harry, journalist and television host Jeremy Clarkson, editor-in-chief of InStyle magazine, Laura Brown, and creative juggernaut Goldie. Join me as we continue this exploration on Season 2 of Mini Questions, on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Thanks for listening to the Herd Podcast. Be sure to catch us live every weekday from 12 to 3 Eastern, 9 to noon Pacific on Fox Sports Radio and FS1. Find your local station for the Herd at foxsportsradio.com or stream us live every day on the iHeartRadio app by searching Herd.
Now let's get this party started.
You're listening to Fox Sports Radio.
Thursday night on FS1, it's a huge night of college hoops featuring some of the top teams in the country. Purdue takes on Indiana at 7 Eastern. Then at 11, UCLA battles Utah. It all tips off Thursday on FS1 and the Fox Sports app.
Purdue, UCLA, are they good enough to win it all? They're certainly good enough to be Final Four or Elite Eight teams, that's for sure. Peter Schrager, Fox Sports NFL reporter, has got his cheat sheet in the Fox Sports app. What's your big takeaway last night from Matt Stafford? Finally got a playoff W. What was your takeaway, Schrags?
Yeah, got the monkey off his back and did not force the issue. Just got it what he did. The numbers were great. I mean, look at it. 13 to 17, 202, 3 touchdowns. And personally, I think they called off the dogs in the second half. So it was actually really good. It got this giant storyline out of the way that he has had follow him for 13 years, but it also wasn't that he had to be the guy. So it was the best of both worlds for Stafford. I think you hit it in the last hour. But I'll tell you this, I've gotten to know Stafford really well over his career. Like, I don't think he lives in the same circles that maybe you and I talk in, where it's, can he win the big one? I don't think it affects him. He's been the number one guy since high school. He was the number one overall pick out of college, and multiple teams have paid him $100 million contracts and have given up picks for him. So I don't think he lives in this, can I get it done? He's never doubted it. But ultimately a really important win for them to get to the next round. But I think personally, he doesn't lose sleep on the fact that he didn't give away anything as far as I needed this one for my own psyche. I don't think Stafford rolls in that kind of way.
All right, there's a lot of coaching openings. Are the Texans, they interviewed Hines Ward. Are the Houston Texans getting close?
Yeah, look, I think this is a fascinating thing. And Colin, I know you're a big thinker. They're thinking asymmetrically than the rest of the league, whereas every other team seems to be saying, hey, let's bring in the top coordinators and the top former head coach. The Texans want to bring in a culture builder, and that can come from any walk of life and with any resume. So Hines Ward gets asked to interview. He interviews Saturday, and a lot of people are like, Hines Ward, what the? Hines Ward was an assistant coach with the Jets for just a little bit. Was with Willie Taggart at FAU this year. But Hines Ward knows what that Steelers organization is all about. Culture builder. Another name that I've heard mentioned for the Texans job is Josh McCown. He's currently a high school head coach.
Yeah.
Coaches his son in high school. No coaching experience in the NFL. This model, this is the Steve Nash, Steve Kerr NBA model, where it's, okay, we'll find great coordinators. We'll find great position coaches. Who's going to be the CEO of this coaching staff? And it doesn't necessarily have to be the best guy with X's and O's. It's got to be someone that the players respond to. Texans organization, they know they're not winning tomorrow. They know they're probably not winning next year. They want to build a culture. I think it's kind of refreshing. I know a lot of people roll their eyes in the NFL at this type of thing, but Hines Ward, I mean, we've interviewed a lot worse coaching candidates over the years. Why not bring him in and at least get to pick his brain? Kind of like what Houston's doing.
All right, the Giants are going to go GM before they go coach. They got a lot of issues. Is there a leader in the clubhouse right now for the Giants?
Yeah, so they interviewed 8 different GM candidates, all from winning organizations. And one of them that has already been being asked back for a second interview, per Mike Garafolo at the NFL Network, a former Fox colleague of ours, is Joe Schoen. Joe Schoen is the Buffalo number 2. So Joe Schoen comes in here. He was with Miami for years and then left to go up to Buffalo when Brandon Beane took over. And what they've built there in Buffalo might be something that's really appealing for the Giants brass, in that they had a first-round pick. They nailed it with Josh Allen. They went and they were aggressive and got Stephon Diggs, and they have built through the draft and free agency steadily to now their roster is second to none. Another name to look for is a guy who interviewed yesterday for the Giants job, and that's Adam Peters, who is now currently John Lynch's number 2 in San Francisco, but spent time in Denver under John Elway and New England under Belichick. Giants organization is taking this slowly. They have not interviewed any head coaching candidates yet. They have not asked to interview any head coaching candidates. They're doing it what a lot of people probably should be doing: interview the GM first, pick your GM, and then have the GM be the one to ask for interviews from these head coaches. If you miss out on a head coach because of it, that's okay. I think that's process, and I think a lot of teams right now are haphazardly saying, let's interview a bunch of coaches, let's interview a bunch of GMs, let's see if we can mix and match. In this case, GM first, and then the head coach. Sort of refreshing to see some order out of the Giants and when they're doing this.
You know, it's interesting. If you think about it holistically, the teams on the bye should win like 85% of their games. Number 1, they're at home. Number 2, they're better teams. That's why they have the bye. Number 3, they got to get healthy. Number 4, they face, a team that just won probably a very fierce playoff battle, probably had some injuries, but they don't win 90% of the time. These number 1, these bye teams, it's like a little better than 50%. And that's scary because now Green Bay's healthier, but they haven't taken meaningful snaps, really meaningful, in a month. What's San Francisco think about going up there fresh off that confidence-building win over Dallas?
The old debate back when Peyton Manning would be benched for weeks 13 to 16 by Dungy or Caldwell was rest versus rust. Do we want Peyton Manning to be out there, or do we want Peyton Manning to be in the rhythm that he was in? And I think teams have more gone into the fact of, let's finish the season with our starters at quarterback. As you saw Aaron Rodgers get significant snaps in that week 17 game. But if there's one team I think the Packers did not want to face, it's the 49ers. The 49ers are on a roll right now. And though we don't know the status of Nick Bosa or Fred Warner, who are their 2 top defensive players, we do know that they've had a lot of success against the Packers. And not just the Packers, the Matt LaFleur coached Packers. You go back 2 years ago, they absolutely waxed them on a Sunday night, and then in the NFC Championship game, ran all over the Packers. Now this one here, this is interesting because Shanahan very famously had LaFleur under him in Washington, and then had him under him in Atlanta and under his thumb in those 2019 matchups. I don't think they wanted to face a physical team like this. And the way that Deebo Samuel is playing, and the way that those players on that San Francisco roster know that they have owned the Packers in playoff runs before, I think that could have a factor here. There's not going to be any fearful or any scared players on that 49ers team, and I can assure you the coaching staff is not shaking at the thought of coaching against Matt LaFleur, Nathaniel Hackett, and Joe Barry. They've had success against these guys, and I know that Kyle Shanahan is dialing it up right now for Deebo Samuel, and they'll get it done. Quick note, George Kittle had 1 catch on Sunday. 1 catch.
I know.
No one's talking about it. You know why? Because he blocked his butt off. They all buy in, and that is what the Niners have going on right now.
Hey, by the way, I think Cliff Kingsbury, he built a culture. He won games in the toughest division. He got into the playoffs. Sometimes your first playoff game is ugly. I got no problem bringing Cliff back. And Kyler, obviously, I'm going to pay. He's just too special. There's not a lot of. Is Cliff Kingsbury safe, in your opinion?
I hope so. I really do, because I think in Cliff's case, yesterday was maybe his worst game ever. It was Kyler's worst game ever. I would hate to think that's the end of it. We'll see what happens. I mean, Bidwill here, I don't think he wants to go through a whole other coaching search here.
Right.
As you said earlier on the show, the Cardinals, no one expected them to get to the playoffs. They got to the playoffs here. Now, how it ended, not ideal. But I would like to think, instead of just doing a knee-jerk decision here, and from what I gather from the Cardinals as of now on Tuesday morning, I don't think that'll be the case. Remember, they did all this a couple of years ago when they fired Steve Wilkes after 1 year, and they had to replace Arians just a year before that. So I believe Cliff is going to be given another shot, but NFL has taught me one thing: never be so sure with these NFL owners.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I thought Arizona, I had them for 4th place. So, to me, they completely overachieved.
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah. Schrag, it's great seeing you, buddy. Cheat sheet.
Love seeing you, Colin. You're the best.
Fox Sports app. He was also on the Sunday NFL kickoff show. I was, too, as a thespian. I was acting a lot on those. I was doing period pieces. People didn't know I could act in America, but, I can't.
You were on a show.
Oh, yeah, I did little pieces every week.
But didn't you do that show once?
I used to be on that show.
Yeah. No, I'm not that show. I'm saying you actually acted in a television show once.
I think one time in my life, yeah. Yeah. I can't, it's hard for me.
I saw it. They were pitching you hot sauce or something?
Yeah, I don't understand. I can't fake it. Like, I can do these little pieces, but like actors, can you imagine being Abe Lincoln for a year? Like, you would have to, like, I couldn't go home and be like, yo, let's cut it up.
There's different types of acting. Like, there's acting where you become fully immersed in the character that you're playing.
That's what I would have to do.
And then there's one that you just get into character when you go onto the set.
And that's tough. If you can't be Abe Lincoln at work for a year and then go home and let's make it rain. Like, I have to be Abe Lincoln. I would have to be Abe Lincoln.
It's going to take you like 6 months for it to wear off?
I think it would wear off quickly, but you can't just, I don't know how these people play these, like Margaret Thatcher. Meryl Streep plays Margaret Thatcher. You going to tell me on the drive home you lose the British accent?
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey's kind of been Russ Cole ever since True Detective. I mean, it's hard. I don't know. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you get the energy up to do take after take after take. Like, say something goes wrong, like I would snap. Like, could you imagine doing like this really intense scene and you're like crying and screaming, and then they're like, "Cut, the lighting's off." Like, I couldn't do that. I would lose my mind.
Yeah.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
Considered the league's most prestigious honor, the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award, presented by Nationwide, recognizes NFL players who have not only exhibited excellence on the field, but whose passion to impact lives extends beyond the game.
I see you, baby. Good stuff, man.
And has led them to leave a positive legacy in their communities.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love this, man.
It takes all of us to make a difference. Learn about this year's nominees at NFL.com/Man of the Year.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rachel Bonetta, and I have my very own podcast called Benched with Bonetta. You kidding me? Woo!
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
You may know me from Game Day View or Game Day Morning on NFL Network. Basically, any shows with the word game in it, odds are you'll find me there. Every week, I'm going to be talking about all the things I find fascinating about the NFL, like breaking down games, questioning Tom Brady's genetic makeup. It's going to be great. I'm also doing something that has never been done before. I'm opening my DMs.
DMs now open.
We want to hear from you, fans of the NFL.
And when I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
Did you commit a misdemeanor crime when you were 12 and need to tell somebody about it? Please, for the love of Roger Goodell, do not tell me. I can be held accountable. Guys, this podcast is going to be so fun. I can't wait to get started. Find the Benched with Bonetta podcast coming January 25th on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Look through your children's eyes to see the true magic of a forest. It's a storybook world for them. You look and see a tree. They see the wrinkled face of a wizard with arms outstretched to the sky. They see treasure in pebbles. They see a windy path that could lead to adventure. And they see you, their fearless guide through this fascinating world.
Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
NetSuite by Oracle is the #1 cloud financial system. Visibility, control over your financials. Make the upgrade now. netsuite.com/herd. Joy Taylor with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
Well, we are in Hollywood, and the pressure's always on out here in Los Angeles. Matthew Stafford had a nice night down at SoFi. He talked about the experience of getting his first playoff win.
I think it means a lot more to, you guys and all that. I just want to be a part of this team and help us win. So I trust in myself, trust in my abilities, trust in my teammates. Go out there and play and let the chips fall where they may. I'm just excited for our team to get the win. Obviously, what a team effort. Our defense played outstanding tonight. Special teams basically set up a score with Johnny pinning them down there, did a great job on field goals. And, we were good enough on offense to score some points and come away with the win. Just happy to be moving on.
They ran the ball with conviction. It was very obvious what very obvious what the film told McVay. We're just going to run the football, take Kyler out of it. It was interesting. Arizona's whole game plan was double Cooper Kupp. It did not work.
Well, I mean, the Rams are a loaded team. If
Yes.
you're going to do that, you're going to have to make sure that the rest of the team steps up. But I mean, everything went wrong for Arizona last night. It just was one of those games you could see very early. It was a mismatch.
Well, it's like Mac Jones, Jalen Hurts, and Kyler. You get down a couple of touchdowns early. Now I know you have to throw.
Right.
Good luck.
It changes the game plan entirely.
Totally changes it.
And especially when you have a defense like the Rams do, with the pieces that they have and the veterans that they have, like that's a almost impossible hill to climb. Matthew Stafford didn't have to do a lot, but one thing he didn't do is make mistakes, which was the big question about how he was going to perform in the playoffs. Is he going to continue to do these interceptions? Yeah. And he was good. 13-17, 202 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 154.5 passer rating. He actually had a rushing touchdown and 22 rushing yards as well, so it showed his legs off a little bit. They rushed for 140 yards as a team, to your point. So they really just dominated this entire game. I think this. I know he's gonna, he's done say the right thing, quarterback speak, team win, and it was. But this is important, because this was the story on him.
Yeah,
and he got that first win. Obviously, they have Super Bowl expectations, but it would have been as bad as it is for Dallas this week and how this offseason is going to go for them. That's what it would be. We would be talking about with the Rams and Matthew Stafford because of what they gave up.
They're going to need a lot more of Matt against Tampa because Vita Vea is going to end your run game. So
yeah,
Matt's going to not throw it 17 times.
Good.
He's going to throw 34 times.
Yeah, he's going to have to throw it more against the Bucs on Sunday. They're 3.5-point underdogs, according to Fox Bet. So Raiders interim coach Rich Bisaccia said he has had some preliminary talks with owner Mark Davis about potentially keeping the job full time. He was promoted from special teams coach on October 11th, following John Gruden's exit from the organization. They were 3-2 at the time of his promotion. They went 7-6 under him, won their last 4 regular season games to finish 10-7, and claimed the AFC's number 5 seed. Derek Carr and Max Crosby have both said they would love for Bisaccia to be the next head coach. He did a tremendous job in a situation that was really, really bad and really toxic. They had other issues throughout the season. He did do a tremendous job as the interim head coach. I don't think you make the decision based off of what Derek Carr
you got to be
wants
careful.
to do.
Yeah, you got to be careful about that.
I think there's a very, very, very small list of guys that you have to pay attention when they say something like that. It's Tom Brady.
Yeah,
it's Aaron Rodgers.
Mahomes, maybe.
Mahomes, yeah.
I don't think that's his personality, though.
It's not his personality, but I mean, who knows, down the road. But I mean, even Russell Wilson, he hasn't said what he necessarily wants, but
they're not listening to him.
They're not listening to him.
Yeah.
So there's a very small list of people that can make those kind of demands. Now, according to the Rooney Rule, Davis has to interview at least 2 minority candidates from outside of the organization for the head coaching job. They've reportedly requested to interview Gerard Mayo, Patriots defensive assistant, and they let go of Mike Mayock, and have reportedly requested an interview with the Patriots director of player personnel, Dave Ziegler. All these hirings are going to start to come down over the next couple weeks and through the offseason. But to me, I wouldn't be surprised if they stuck with Bisaccia. But I do think that they need. The Raiders are an organization that really needs somebody, similar to we were talking about the Cowboys earlier. I would go with someone who has won, who I know can build a culture. We get so caught up in the Raiders brand, we don't pay attention to how dysfunctional they have been year after year after year after year. Like, they don't have a culture. They have a great brand, but they don't have a culture. And John Gruden was supposed to be that, and clearly he didn't do that either. So the Raiders have a massive fan base, multiple cities, huge brands. They need to just settle some things down and start building. So NFL divisional round games are this weekend, and just like last weekend, all the home teams are favored. According to Fox Bet, Tannehill and the Titans are favored by 3.5 over the Bengals. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are favored by 6 over the Niners. Brady and the Bucks are favored by 3 over the Rams, and Mahomes and the Chiefs are favored by 2 over the Bills.
I would bet every favorite.
Only one road team won in the wild card round, and that was the Niners over the Cowboys.
And they almost blew it. And they outplayed them totally.
Yeah, Jimmy G insisted on giving the Cowboys a chance in that game, which from the viewer's standpoint was a wonderful watch.
The interception didn't drive me as crazy as that fourth and
you're
inches.
More irritated about the penalty.
Because that's like people throw picks. Like I get Dak had one. I don't crush guys for picks. You get one a game. If you throw 38 times, you get one a game. You got to figure out if my right tackle's set. I mean, that's like high school.
That was the game. Like that
would have been
kept
over.
them in the game. The game was over if he did that.
Dallas does not get the ball back.
Yeah. I mean, I think also the favorites will probably be leaned on more this weekend because there were so many blowouts last weekend.
There
were two competitive games. Bengals-Raiders was competitive, and Cowboys-Niners. Every other game was a massive blowout. So I could see everyone going. I mean, San Francisco's interesting. I have to see how healthy they are.
Yes.
That's. I mean, obviously the biggest line.
If Bosa plays and Warner plays and Jimmy's fine, it'll be a good football game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Good stuff.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio, FS1, and the iHeartRadio app.
Mic check. Mic check.
Do you want exclusive insight from the biggest names in the sports game? What's good? This is national champion and former pro baller Chris Johnson. And let me tell you a little bit about my new series, KJ Live. KJ Live is the only show featuring me going one-on-one with the brightest basketball minds on the planet to get the real. And when I say real, I mean that real. I got legendary Hall of Famers, elite coaches, and the top basketball insiders bringing you a unique perspective on all things hoops culture that you will not find anywhere else. So make your next move your best move and tap in with me on KJ Live, wherever you get your podcast from.
Hello, I'm Minnie Driver. And on my podcast, Mini Questions, I ask trailblazers across different disciplines the same 7 questions. Questions about the inflection points in their life, what they like least about themselves, and what relationship has defined love for them. This season, I'm coming back with new trailblazers, like Blondie vocalist Debbie Harry, journalist and television host Jeremy Clarkson, editor-in-chief of InStyle magazine Laura Brown, and creative juggernaut Goldie. Join me as we continue this exploration on Season 2 of Mini Questions, on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for the... And there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
What grows in the forest? Trees? Sure. Know what else grows in the forest? Our imagination, our sense of wonder, and our family bonds grow too. Because when we disconnect from this and connect with this, we reconnect with each other. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Faherty was founded by twin brothers. Want 20% off? Go to fahertybrand.com/herd, code HERD20. By the way, the smartest people I've ever met in my life have never been politicians. I've been very fortunate. I've worked with brilliant people. I've been doing this 25, 30 years. I've met so many smart people. I work with the Rupert Murdoch family, very successful people. Politicians aren't in the top 10%, 20% of the smartest people I've met. California is a great example. 80,000 people are at the Rams game last night. This city has a high vaccination rate, a high booster rate, and if you are vaxxed and boosted, go to the game. You're going to be asymptomatic or get a 2-day cold with Omicron. UCLA, on a college campus, leans wacky left. They won't let anybody go to watch any of their sports. So all those UCLA basketball players are playing like in a gym that's empty In the NFL, like big boy sports, the COVID has disappeared. Why? Because they have the world's best athletes. They're all vaxxed, overwhelmingly boosted. Nobody's going to die if you're a professional athlete. They live in their little athletic tunnels, especially in the playoffs. You're around players and your family. You don't have time to hang out. We're past the holiday season, which is obviously that's when families are together around the country. But these players aren't vacationing now. Like they're in a tunnel, facility, home, family. If everybody's vaxxed, the NFL suddenly COVID disappears. 80,000 people, and these college campuses now won't let like 3,000 people go to a wrestling match or something. It's like, this is why a lot of people, I'm vaxxed and boosted. This is why a lot of people are frustrated. Politicians are sending a million mixed messages, and then you have pictures of politicians all over in America lecturing you, and then don't have masks out to dinner with other politicians. You send those messages, you're going to get cynicism from a lot of Americans. And it's like, folks, if you're vaxxed, if you're boosted, you want to go out to a game, go to a game, put a mask on if it concerns you. And by the way, if you have physical things you're scared about, don't go out. All the games are on TV. It's not like when I grew up, there were no games on TV. All the games are on television now. Stay home if you have physical issues or you're over 75 or you're concerned. Totally get it. And also, if you're in that situation, then don't hang out with people who maybe, going to games and going out and socializing. If I was 75 and I had concerns or I was obese, then I wouldn't be hanging out with my cousins who are at games and hanging out and going to parties and going to work. I wouldn't hang out with them. I'd just have to do it. I would meet him outside. I would go for a walk with him. I wouldn't be indoors with him. All right. But it's comical to watch some of this stuff. SoFi Stadium's jammed. Around the corner, you can't have 3,000 people go to a tennis match or something or a basketball game. It's absurd. So speaking of Los Angeles, is that fit matters. So the number one graded wide receiver in the playoffs is not Tyreek Hill or Stephon Diggs or Jamar Chase or Cooper Kupp or Mike Evans or Deebo Samuel. It's Odell Beckham. He's number one rated receiver. And let's be honest about this. I'm not going to be a good guy, nor am I going to be petty. It's a terrible look for Baker Mayfield. Last night, Jarvis Landry, a lot of the Browns players are going on social media. I don't think Brown players buy into Baker. I don't think the skill players do at all. Jarvis Landry, very, very little chance he'll return. He's super talented. OBJ didn't work. Jarvis just had his worst year. They have excellent tight ends. They disappear for long stretches. It's a bad look when the Cleveland receivers, when OBJ left, had 3 touchdowns, and OBJ's got 6. You can blame Stefanski, but he was coach of the year 10 months ago. He was coach of the year. Don't blame him. Can't blame the offensive line. Can't blame the running backs. It's a good roster. Cleveland's got a good roster. It's still a top 5 roster in the NFL. If they're healthy on the O-line, it's the best offensive line in the league, hands down, in my opinion. So, but the bottom line here is, if your wife leaves you and she upgrades, it's a bad look for you. Sorry. And this is a bad look for Baker. And Cleveland players are telling you, nobody was upset when OBJ's dad called out Baker. Not a single Cleveland Brown player was upset. And I'm sorry, but now, I thought OBJ looked almost done to me. He got into the drops. He always had good hands. Have you noticed in L.A., he got his hands back, got his confidence back, he's wide open. So, there's just, this one of the great things about being a sportscaster is that I talked to a golf coach years ago. He goes, if you love golf, you shouldn't be a golf coach because you no longer can just go out and play and have fun. You're always thinking about correcting people. And some people worry about when you're a sportscaster, you can't root. But you can. You can have favorite teams. I tend to root for people I know. I don't care about the teams as much, but I like Chris Ballard. I want to see the Colts do well because I like the GM, right? Or Frank Reich. I like him. But the downside to being emotional as a fan is the good side is you get really high and really low, and it's a lot of emotion. It's so much fun. You hang out with your buddies or whatever. The downside is you can't see straight. Like if you're still buying Baker, folks, how many examples do you need? OBJ is reborn. Jarvis Landry worst year. Tight ends disappear. And this is the downside to fandom, no reasonable person. I talk to general managers and scouts. They're all done with Baker. Like, he's not mature enough. He's not physically gifted. He's now beat up. He makes bad decisions. But this OBJ thing, it looks bad.
It was a terrible look for Baker last night. And the biggest stage, with all the pressure on Matthew Stafford. He's never won a playoff game. And Odell is thriving.
And nobody's living in anybody's head. Baker's living in your head. Because if you're still buying that, he owns you.
I don't.
Like, it's over.
The Odell exit to me was the sign that there was no more buy-in on Baker in Cleveland. What quarterback would get disrespected like that in the league? Like, there's a very small list of guys where that would happen, and you would think that the entire locker room wouldn't turn on the person that did that. Like, who would disrespect someone like that? Outside of Antonio Brown calling out Tom Brady, which is like an outlier situation.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's Brock Heward, 6 years in the NFL, on why OBJ is such a perfect fit.
The Rams really wanted him when the Giants moved on from him. And Odell, I think, would be the first to tell you that he wasn't ready for L.A., that he needed the Cleveland crash and burn. He needed that experience. He needed the callousing and the scarring that came with that to realize, man, I got it pretty good here in L.A. I got a remarkable QB that can put the ball anywhere down the field. I got a great supporting cast. I got an organization that grows its players. You know what? And for the first time, there's just, I think, a level of maturity. The entitlement got cut off. You're seeing his explosiveness that is still there, his dynamic playmaking. And Robert Woods is awesome. Cooper Kupp's phenomenal. The other younger players you mentioned, they may grow and develop. But as far as a dynamic, just body control, throw it up to him, just change the game kind of player, OBJ is different. And to that point, to your point, I think he's a Ram next year.
Yeah, they are loaded at wide receiver. But, and it's one of the things that in the history of America, there has never been in the history of America more stars athletically in one city. It's insane. I mean, Joey Bosa is like 23rd most famous football player, athlete in L.A., and he's great. I mean, Justin Herbert's 17. Like, it's just incredible how many stars in L.A., and I think a huge component to this. I know a lot of you, people bang on the tax rate. These guys, when you're making 13, 15, 18 million a year, you pay a lot of taxes, but the quality of life matters. And I think OBJ is a great example, and I've heard this from LeBron's people, and I've heard this from like Stafford's people around. Yeah, you can hide in L.A. It's just you got to get it to this guy, and he's carrying the team. I remember when Shaq was in Orlando, and I was in Tampa at the same time. And Orlando has this beautiful chain of lakes. I think it's called the Butler chain of lakes. I mean, Shaq couldn't go to the store. Shaq couldn't go anywhere in Orlando, and he loved his team. But in L.A., even Shaq, to some degree, you kind of hang with pro athletes, you hang with actors, you hang with agents. There's like a safe place. And this town, you got the Hollywood Hills, you got the Malibu retreats. There's so many canyons and hills and beaches and the topography. You can hide in Los Angeles. And I think it's really attractive in the state of California that there's so many stars, and the country's never been more star-driven, entertainment-driven. Tech is that now we have tech stars in America. California is a really safe place. Like, you can hang out. You're going to have people that understand your life. The pressure's not going to be intense. You can hang out with your friends, your agents, other athletes. But you tax rates, if you're a tax accountant and you live in that tunnel, go move to Florida. Like, I get it. I totally get it. But OBJ in Los Angeles, it's just so easy here. Even New York, Manhattan's an island, a football-shaped island. You can't grow out. There's no space. You build up. It's an island. You're on that island, and people kind of know what part of the island you're on. L.A. is just, I think it's the second biggest county in America to Duval County in Florida. And so, like, OBJ comes out here, and it's just a very easy life. And the Rams do a really good job of making stars comfortable. Like they really do. They got their quiet facilities up in Thousand Oaks. It's a very quiet part of town. It's mostly easy to get to. They've got a lot of space. The media isn't as angry as other cities. It's not that it's a supportive media. It's a big market media. But OBJ is going to get more money elsewhere. The Jets want him, the Patriots. A lot of the Jacksonville, Chicago. There's going to be a lot of places where he can make more money. A lot of them don't have the coach, the culture, or they have a young quarterback, and he did that in Cleveland, and it wore him out. Like, this is one of those rare, if I was a pro athlete, it'd be like, boy, LA's easy. I mean, you just watch him. He's had games with 2 targets. It's a non-story. Nobody here cares. Jalen Ramsey's the best pure corner in the league. You forget he's on the field. And there's games, like when they play Tampa, Jalen's on Mike Evans. He'll be the story. Last night, no D-Hop. He's a guy. And it's just an easy place for stars to live and play. It's the Herd.
Look through your children's eyes, and you will discover the true magic of a forest.
Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Open to all teams and players, the NFL's Inspire Change initiative acknowledges the ways that systemic racism contributes to barriers to opportunity and equality, and focuses on ongoing efforts on creating progress in the areas of education, economic advancement, community and police relations, and criminal justice reform. To learn more about the NFL's commitment to ensuring a more equal and just future, text NFLIC to 635-635. It takes all of us to advance social justice.
The NFL Podcast Network is your home for all things football. Do you love hearing analysis around the league with a touch of mirth?
Or maybe you enjoy breaking down X's and O's in the college scouting scene.
Do you breathe, sleep, and eat fantasy football?
Perhaps you love the funny headlines that emerge each week.
What if you want in-depth news coverage with reporters?
Or what if you want to know exactly how each team got its name?
Well, you're in luck because the NFL Podcast Network has a show for everybody.
Listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.